2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. You could turn $10 into $250. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/fan and use code FAN. That's code FAN at prizepicks.com/fan.
Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers podcast.
Perfect. And you know it is perfect because it's not perfect. Actually, we're here under less than perfect circumstances. It's the C3 Panthers podcast with the Friday night special edition. Blockbuster trades have happened. One of the biggest hours of movement for the NFL draft in the top 10 ever. This is almost unprecedented. Occurred today, midday. And I got to tell you this, is that we're 24 or 34 days out of the NFL draft. The NBA is trying to make trades over here and there. And the NFL steals all the storylines and what is setting up to be the most exciting NFL draft, arguably in history. And I will tell you, I know this, is I have an argument tonight for why this draft will be the most exciting that I've witnessed in over a decade. And I'm going to make it to you guys. Sadly, it may not be exciting for Carolina Panthers fans. My name's Tony Dunn. I'm the host of the C3 Panthers podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. And every Tuesday night, live 9 p.m., I chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions with these two cats right here. There's one that's probably working his ass off in his mini streams, Greg, but there's a whole bunch of people in the chat. But my co-host right here, Cody Lastney, producer, the man, the myth, the legend, he warned us this would happen. Gosh, Cody, are you basking or are you just going to be a dick? What is your plans for this show as we talk about this awful news when it comes to the NFL draft?
I guess a D, all the above. Yeah, you know I'm a dick. Of course I'm going to come here and be a dick. Especially when I had half the fan base yelling at me, telling me I'm stupid, that tanking is wrong, that winning a meaningless December football game is good for the culture, and losing would have spread a cancer amongst the ranks of the Panthers locker room. And it was all bullshit, bro. And it was bullshit then. It remains bullshit now. And our lack of aggression, our perceived aggression, is already coming back to haunt us, man. A team who was in a worse position than us in the draft, they moved ahead of us to secure their future. And we didn't do it, and we could have done this in a number of different ways, but the Panthers failed to do it, man. So, yeah, I'm going to gloat a little bit. I do have some receipts that we're going to play. And then, yeah, we're going to talk about what this means for the future of the Carolina Panthers. Because if I'm being honest, the prospects of what our next season was going to look like has drastically changed based on the events of today. And that's just the God's honest truth.
That is exactly what tonight's show is about. It is about how today's movement and movements in this draft and the early picks will affect and influence the Carolina Panthers today, tomorrow, and in the long-term future. So while you can look at other channels or turn on the television to learn about what is happening with these trades specifically, we'll give you those details as well. The show tonight is about how this is going, how this dovetails, how this, is this a fork in the road? What is this for the future of the Carolina Panthers? CK, I showed my wife your video, homie.
Yeah.
She thought it was the shit. She was she was like, this is awesome, man. And she don't really care about any of this stuff. So kudos to you. You guys, CK Codizzle Allen on Facebook Gaming.
Yeah.
Go find him out there. There's a video, a little trailer about what he's doing. Pump it up a little bit for me, folks, because it deserves it. It was nice, man. Nice. CK, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's fun, man. It was about 15 hours worth of work for that video to be 1 minute and 40 seconds long. So that's cool. But it was fun, man. It was great.
How'd you do that backwards angle? Did you have your wife film that?
Yeah, I did. My wife did. Yeah, my wife did that one.
That's my favorite part of the whole. Well, no, there's so many good parts. I like the Dizzle bots roll out. I like that. I like the jumping off the roof and capping this mug in the air. Oh, it was fun.
But yeah, everybody's in the chat like really curious, like really confused about what the heck was going on. But no, yeah, it was fun. It was great. I think I'm really hoping it works out. But obviously I came in today and I was thinking like, oh, it's a good day. Yesterday was such a good day, and then all this news dropped. And there's a lot of different scenarios we can talk about. There's one that
let's start with what happened. How about that? Let's start with what happened.
Let's do it. There might be some people that are out of the loop.
You were messaging me today. Like, I had been busy. I had some stuff going on in the morning, so I was not tapped into social media.
Yep.
I opened Twitter. I see direct message from you, and it's like, what the hell did San Francisco do to us? So I had to Google it, right? Like, I mean, it was so new. It wasn't even trending yet when you sent me the message. The San Francisco 49ers, where were they at, Cody, before today in the draft?
They were picking number 12. So this is the full details of the trade right here. The Miami Dolphins have traded the number 3 overall selection in the 2021 NFL Draft to the San Francisco 49ers in exchange for the 12th overall pick, a third-round pick in 2022, a first-round pick in 2022, and a first-round pick in 2023. So the Jets get to move up this year and keep the 49ers get to trade up and keep the rest of this year's draft completely intact for them. I maintain John Lynch is my favorite GM in the NFL.
They still play
everything that they have done so far for the San Francisco 49ers, I've been a fan of. I like their aggressiveness. I like the way they scout. And they just played a whole bunch of football teams, man. They played us. They were aggressive. And now they are for sure going to have their shot at Zach Wilson or Justin Fields or Trey Lance. Because
all right, so the San Francisco 49ers, now we're going to talk a moment about what, how if the Panthers should have done what the 49ers did. But I truly believe that the San Francisco 49ers were positioned to make an aggressive move like this. 2 years ago, they were in the Super Bowl, they have a defensive squad that's full of studs. And one of the things about that squad is it suffered some injuries last year, and they did not have the quarterback play. but we know that Kyle Shanahan is like this crazy mad genius when it comes to the run game and he is, I think, maybe the most innovative coach or the best offensive coach in the NFL right now. So this team was positioned to win now, right?
Yeah.
Or at least win and make a run in the next 2 years. Like there is a window, it's there, and they know the one thing that's holding them back is Jimmy Garoppolo or even a Jimmy Garoppolo-esque type player. So they move into the third position. Interestingly, what we do know at this point, and I'll make an argument about this, is why this is going to be the most popular. This is going to be the most exciting draft that I've ever seen in my entire life. Sadly, not because it's Carolina Panthers fan, but we know right now that there are 4 quarterbacks going in the top 5, top 6, right? We know it. We know 2 of the names. We believe we firmly know in Trevor Lawrence and then Zach Wilson. But then it's going to be Justin Fields or Trey Lance. It's going to be then the other one. And then there's going to be other movement, potentially, other quarterbacks. Why I think this is going to be the most popular and exciting draft in NFL modern history for a moment is because people who do not watch football all day, every day, and follow the draft all day, every day, and look at prospects will know the names that are being called in the top 10. Because these are quarterbacks, because like we're familiar with these names. In past drafts, you pick it's like offensive lineman number 2, and we're all Googling to really see what that person is. And we're just listening to these folks about what that person is. And so tell us what we should believe about this guy. We're going into an NFL draft that is so quarterback heavy and so popularized at the position that we all have opinions about these players, even if we barely follow football. That's why I think this is going to be a crazy-ass draft right now, and there's still some intrigue. We don't know if it's Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and then these dumbasses trying to float out Mac Jones. So, Cody, we have all of that excitement. CK sends me the message. By the time I'm Googling what is happening, he says, and now there's more shit going down. The Miami Dolphins have moved from 12 to 6.
Yeah, so then basically the Dolphins, they still want to get a top weapon for Tua Tagovailoa. So they have 1 million first-round picks, it seems like now. So they were able to do that. They gave up a first round next year, and they were able to move back up from 12 to number 6. And they're sitting, right outside the top 5. And earlier, Tony, you said that, this is going to be one of the most exciting drafts of all time, most, well known. And I think it's because this is a legendary quarterback class. And I tried to tell everyone a lot earlier this year. It's so rare to have 4 quarterbacks that tick so many different boxes. People want to say, well, okay, what about when Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson? Each of those players were good prospects, but also different in a lot of different ways. In this year's class, you have 4 quarterbacks that have elite arm talent, elite mobility, elite football IQ, the leadership acumen. These top 4 are, they're in my mind, this is the best quarterback class of maybe even the past decade. I think it's going to rank that high, especially now when you see what Zach Wilson was able to do at his pro day. Granted, it is just a pro day. He's throwing against air, but if you check out some of the highlights, Zach Wilson was throwing missiles all over the field from different platforms, just really showing why he has this elite talent that everyone is so excited about. And now that the 49ers have moved up, man, this year's draft, now that the 49ers have moved up, I think it's entirely possible the first 4 picks are all going to be quarterbacks. And now the Atlanta Falcons.
So tell them to me. So that goes Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, right? Then let's just say Justin Fields to the 49ers and Trey Lance to who?
So
The Falcons? You
Well,
think the
and that-
Falcons or
that's-
someone's
okay.
good? I've seen Denver wanting to trade with the Falcons. It will not be us, Cody. It
No,
will
they
not
won't.
be us.
right,
They
that's
won't.
what I'm saying.
And we shouldn't. We shouldn't. I don't even care what player we get. I would never want to give assets to another my rival. Any asset.
And why would they want to trade that with us? It's like, why would they want to do that? Knowing that they have a division rival that's quarterback thirsty. Even if we wanted to move up, you have to understand now, because of what the 49ers did, the Atlanta Falcons have a golden ticket. Because if they're set with Matt Ryan this year, they can. I mean, listen, they have a bunch of other football teams that are now drooling over the thoughts of that fourth pick in the draft, us included. So, again, one of our only hopes, and this has been floated out by Chris Sims, who everyone wants to, jump on his bandwagon because of his recent quarterback projection success. In his mind, he sees the 49ers moving up to number 3 to take Mac Jones.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, which is the dumbest shit in the world in my opinion. Like, that's
If
But
that
here's the-
happens,
listen
if
to-
that happens, I will be Kyle Shanahan's personal masseuse, his massage therapist.
Dude,
If Kyle Shanahan helps us and blesses us like that, handies forever.
there's so much information that's coming out of this that is just all misleading, right? There's a report coming out that the 49ers have told Garoppolo, they have no plans on moving away from him. Like, he is the starter next year. He is their guy. So I don't understand why mortgaging your entire organization for 3 years is, I mean, at least your first round picks let's not get it lost here. This was not like the 49ers did not win the deal, right? They gave up 3 first round picks to move up 9 spots in the draft, right? That's a heavy, you got to keep in mind, that was basically the asking price for Deshaun Watson plus maybe some starters, right? I don't think that this was something that they won the pick. I mean, and it's for the 3rd quarterback. In the draft.
Really? I don't even think it was. It's a heavy ransom. I think it is a negligible one. And the very fact is that what happens when you have a great team just sitting there and you don't have the piece that really, truly that's keeping you away from it.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of that's the only reason they do this, right? They gave up so much, and the only thing that makes sense to me is that the Dolphins called around and said, "Hey, Panthers, I mean, we would much rather not have to trade away the pick that you guys trade to us to move back up into the top 10. I mean, we'd much rather do that with you guys and then, give you guys the same offer." Like, they literally could have gotten a better deal. Like, if we wanted to do the exact same trade, I can almost guarantee you they called us and asked if we wanted to move up. But like I said, I think that, again, it's a lot of capital that they gave up for this. And if it's for Mac Jones, I'm going to laugh hysterically. But I do think it is suspect. I have a couple of theories here. One of them being, I think that the Miami Dolphins are playing a very good game. I think it might even be a game of, listen, I'm going to trade back. I'm going to acquire 2 first round, or 2 or really 3, I guess, if you want to acquire this year's first round draft pick. I'm going to acquire 3 first round draft picks to where I have a total of 6 first rounders over the next 3 years, and then I'm going to trade back into the top 10 with the Eagles. I'm going to still maintain 5 first round draft picks over the next 3 years, and I have trade bait with the Houston Texans saying, "Hey, listen, we're back in that top tier part. I have now 5 first rounds instead of just 3 first rounds like I originally had. And I would like to see if you guys are willing to deal with Deshaun Watson now." I think that there could be a lot bigger play here. And I know the Deshaun Watson conversation has died down a little bit, but I still think it's very much a real thing right now. So, I mean, if the Houston Texans were like, the only way I'm doing this is if you give us 5 first round picks. All right, Dolphins, we'll go ahead and do that. It's interesting, but I also think if you look at where John Lynch was today when he was making these moves, it happened today while he was watching Zach Wilson. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that he has hopes that even though that the Detroit Lions are there, I think he has really high hopes that they're going to pass on Wilson, maybe go Fields or something like that, and then Wilson's there for them to take.
You mean the Jets?
The Jets.
Yeah.
What did I say, Jags?
So
You said the Lions.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, listen. My question is this. Well, one, let me do this. Shout out to Dexter Henderson, £4.99 from across the pond.
Ooh.
Appreciate that, man. And let me pose two questions. One, why wasn't this the Panthers? Chuck from Elizabeth City's in the chat room. I'm pissed. Should have been us. Why wasn't this us? Why wasn't this
we turned
us?
it down.
But listen, that's nothing. What they had to give up 2 first-round picks is absolutely nothing. That's dude. Okay,
that's
the
a lot.
Panthers were no,
move up 9 spots.
It is and it's not. You know what?
You have the entire rest of your draft in 2022 and 2023. You have 6 picks in order to put talent on your football team. That's nothing to them. And by the way, if they end up getting a franchise quarterback on a loaded football team, on a loaded offense and defense, that's worth way more than 2 first-round picks. I would argue that they didn't give up enough.
I do think there's a legitimate
3 first rounds.
Yeah, but it's like you're getting your pick still. So
yeah,
you gave.
But here's
you gave
the thing.
up. You swap picks and then gave 2.
Let me ask
3.
you your opinion. If you traded 3 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson, are you considering only 2 first-round picks?
What do you mean? Say that. You guys explain that. I don't follow.
If you traded 3 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson, would you then consider it only 2 first-round picks? Really?
Yes, because you would say this is that our first-round pick this year was Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. So it really was.
So I would. I say picks. So. It is. It's 3, but it's like it's kind of like it's 3, but it's like in reality it's only 2 additional.
Yeah, but what I guess
you're getting a player. You're getting a player. So
exactly. But you're getting a player at number 3, right? You're not even moving to the number 1 spot. Like that's the type of
expensive, but it's not all that expensive. And I would argue this is that they gave a price, Cody, of 3. They made it so it got every other movement is more expensive now. Like they kind of bought first the San Francisco, like when they're building a neighborhood and there's a risk to a neighborhood and you buy in and you're one of the first 5 houses. Yes, you ponied the first bit of money and it was expensive, but the 10th person that comes in has to put up more money. I almost feel like now, like the fact that the 49ers moved to 3 makes it as impossible for us to move to 2 or anywhere else. Because then if you're upset about the cost of that, what would it take to move to 4? I bet you the Falcons are
it's higher now.
The same, if not more. Exactly.
Yeah, we're gonna have to give up 3 first-round picks just to move up to Atlanta.
4. We would need 4.
Yeah. I don't think it'll be 4 because that's more than what it took for the Niners to move.
But
right,
who else
but there's no other places. Yeah, nobody else wants to go. So now they've got all
the power.
Rare.
It
might take 3. It might take an additional later round pick or something. Cody, I do want to push back. You brought this up.
Can I play my receipt real quick?
No, we're gonna go to that. But you brought up something, and you brought it up out of order, and that is why didn't the Panthers do this? Don't you think though is that while the reward for the Panthers would be just as great if they got their player, don't you think the risk for the 49ers is less since they are more positioned to win in the near future? And not to say that you can turn things around very, very quickly. My point being is that if the Panthers bet 3 did this same bet next year, we're not sitting here we're going to Super Bowl. The 49ers are kind of in there's a less risk and a higher reward here for them, I think.
Yeah, for them. But that leads to my question about why isn't this the Panthers? The Panthers knew this. I mean, that's what the Kansas City Chiefs did when they moved up for Patrick Mahomes. So knowing that there's all these quarterback needy teams, now apparently the Detroit Lions haven't ruled out taking a quarterback, even though they have Jared Goff. So there are all these teams. We have a Bears fan in the chat room right now who's wishing that it was the Bears that traded up to 3 instead of San Fran. There are so many quarterback needy football teams right now that knowing that there are all these teams that are seemingly one good quarterback away from being a legitimate contender, it's all the more baffling when there have been so many reports on how aggressive we are to upgrade the quarterback position that we wouldn't try and pull the trigger on this deal first. Like, from all the rumors that we had heard, if you would have told me today that a team traded up to number 3,
It was the Panthers.
I would have predicted that it was us. I would have predicted that it was the fucking Panthers doing it, but it wasn't. Because a better team with a better general manager outgamed us. And that's plain and simple what happened.
All right. I'm going to tell the Factor One Bears fan to stick around. I got something to say to you about that Trubisky mess. I tell you, we've been saying that the whole time. But it is receipt time. It's receipt time. Is that, Cody, as this happens, I put up this tweet. And I've copied it over. It says, I put this up 4 hours ago. As the Panthers' chances of getting a near surefire franchise quarterback diminished to the point of being non-existent, just remember Carolina should be sitting in that number 3 spot. That is, the Carolina Panthers could be the people who are drafting that number 3 quarterback or number 3 player. If you want to be weird and be like, well, it's all value, then I guess we shouldn't draft a quarterback. But that we could be getting Trey Lance, or if you're another value, homie, we could have traded that for 3 first-round picks, but instead we've been building culture. And homie, this guy Ken E. Hall, and don't worry, people have been following this podcast. This guy, he knows, he likes to come like this. He said people say that now, but who was saying it on December 27th? I said a lot of us, and he said, "Show me the tweets." It's like, what, asshole? I got to go through and spend my time looking at my fucking Twitter line? You do that, dick. But my man Cody brought receipts. What'd you bring?
Man, let me go ahead and just play this for y'all so y'all can attend the service of Nostradamus. Just played themselves out of a franchise quarterback, and now the fucking Falcons are picking 3rd, dude. Today was terrible. Number 4. By the way, a little context. This is the Washington post game. This is the post game after the Panthers beat the Washington football team, effectively losing the 3rd pick in the draft, the pick we're talking about right now. If you want to enjoy the win, please go ahead. Don't let me piss in your cornflakes. But we made a fucking terrible mistake today by winning this football game. And like always, we're going to... Dude, I said this literally the day that it happened, that we made a terrible mistake winning that football game. And look, I've taken a lot of shit for saying that there is a way to artfully and purposefully tank. Now, when people hear the word tank, they think of players and coaches actively trying to go out there and lose football games. And that is not where tanking happens. Tanking happens from a general manager standpoint. If we could have traded Curtis Samuel away before that Washington football game, not only could we have gotten another pick, but Curtis Samuel wouldn't have been able to influence that game against Washington, and we probably would have lost that.
I doubt that.
And we probably would have been picking 3rd. Curtis Samuel made that game for us. I don't understand that. So, dude, the fact that Marty Hurney didn't want to trade Curtis Samuel at all was a problem last season. But the fact that we won a single meaningless game when we were out of playoff contention all together put us in a situation where we might not be able to upgrade our quarterback position to a franchise quarterback. What you have to have in order to be successful in today's NFL. We played ourselves.
I'll say this because I've even in that, I talked about tanking. I still don't, and I know the mindset is, the Curtis Samuel is something that I still will maintain. The trade deadline, we were still in contention, right? If we were still looking at possibly being a contender, which I think our coaching staff looked at our team and thought, yeah, I mean, they just paid Teddy Bridgewater and he wasn't playing horribly. He wasn't great. He wasn't throwing the ball deep, but he wasn't nearly as bad as he was the second half of the season, right? All that happened. But here's the thing is, like, I don't believe in an effective tank. Like, nobody this year tanked. And you can argue all day you want to.
Yeah, they did. The Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hold on. How many of the people drafting ahead of us have the same head coach this year?
Have the same head coach?
Yeah, that they started with last year. How many of the people drafting ahead of us have the same head coach they had when they started the game, the season?
The Bengals, the Dolphins, and who else is there?
No.
The 49ers.
The Dolphins. No. I'm talking about the actual draft. I'm talking about the actual draft order prior to any trades. It was
okay. Well, the Dolphins were ahead of us. They had their same.
The Houston Texans were ahead of us. They traded with the Miami. They traded with Miami Dolphins. That was
doesn't that land to the effective tank though? Because the reason that the Dolphins have 5 picks in the first next 3 drafts in the first round, plus a squad that went 11-5, plus
of tanking. It's because of tanking.
How did they tank? They were in they were almost in the playoffs. They did
they didn't tank this year. They tanked for the last 3 years before that.
Exactly. Do you want to tank for 3 years?
They got rid of Minkah Fitzpatrick for a first round pick. They got rid of Laramie Tunsil, which, by the way, if you follow the crumb trails, that Laramie Tunsil trade is what started all of the Dolphins' accumulations of first-round picks. They were tanking for Tua and still got Tua and now have a plethora of other first-round picks to be able to recoup that quarterback position in the next few years if they don't like Tua. On top of that, CK, the Jaguars did it this year. They got rid of Jalen Ramsey. They
with a different head coach.
Players.
They didn't tank it. Yes, from that perspective, Jalen Ramsey wanted out. Jalen Ramsey wanted out, right? You had a lot of people wanting to jump ship because they created a culture that was very bad, right? When you start losing like that, you're creating a horrible culture, right? You are guaranteed. Hold on. Let me finish.
In December.
Let me finish this. All right. If they didn't win that, number one, with a horrible Dwayne Haskins, then it was number one, you're just showing immediately as a head coach you are tanking, period, right? If we didn't win that game, we were tanking no matter what, right? It was a guarantee because that was a bad game Washington played. Bad. And we still almost lost. Keep that in mind because they put Heineke in. We still almost lost. If we did that, well, guess what? How many teams that tank have the same head coach the year that they tanked? Like, did Miami have the same head coach this year that they used than they tanked the year before?
We signed Matt Rule to 7 years. Nobody was going to fire Matt Rule for losing to the Washington football team in December, which is what we should have. It's not going to tank anything. It's not going to fire your coach. It's not going to corrupt the locker room. Everyone knows that you're building for the future.
Do you know how many people wanted out of Miami? How many people wanted out of the Jags organization after they decided to tank?
But all of those assets that you're talking about now are why those teams are in a position to completely
with a different head coach.
It doesn't matter. It's
with a different head coach. No,
it's the same pick.
It's the same pick. You're absolutely right. But are we getting rid of Matt Rule?
But what does it have to do with?
It has everything to do with. Listen, what I'm trying to say is, if you want to actually build the team, right? Yes, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars tanked. I think the Miami Dolphins tanked. But they tanked because they knew they didn't have their head coach, right? If we went into this organization, into this year, and we tanked, then there is a set of culture that he has a losing mindset, right? That is guaranteed because you see what happens when you look at these other organizations. The benefit these other organizations have is they don't have that same head coach and they can go, we're building something new.
I think this whole culture concept is slightly it's like it's nostalgia, and that's not the right word I'm searching for. I think it's like gleaming optimism is that you can at administrative level make shrewd decisions that have big outcomes, and that is where I think even this is. I think the Miami trade back to 6 was brilliant.
Yeah,
and that is they said, is that we really have a quarterback that we put a lot into, and we don't think is a bum. We have all these other motherfuckers that are thirsty. We can pick the player we want at 4 and get whoever we want. Or we can get some stuff and still get who we want. And that's what they were able to do. So like they're playing the game. Now I want to say this is this Keith, whoever that guy was.
Ken or whatever.
Ken E. Hall. Bro. I'm typing this in. About to address you live, homie. Fuck this dude.
What did he say this time?
This dude, man. He said this, like out of nowhere, like because all these other people have been talking about like giving their receipts. He then comes and pulls me up and he says, and look who is suddenly silent, the dude who hides behind the fake Twitter account at Cat Chronicles. And this is after we just did a live fucking receipt call. And I said this, a fake ass Twitter account. Fuck you, man. I built this Twitter account from follower 1, homie. Follower 1. So like, just because I don't put my name on it because it's not me. It's something a little bit boring. So fuck you. I'm too angry. I got too angry.
Trolls, bro.
I know that was troll. I did want to do this and this is important because Andy Massey, and he would be disappointed in how upset I just got. He brought this up and I'm going to share it right now. And Cody, this is going to be interesting. Get your take on this. Andy Massey says and this is a cool dude. He knows a lot about the Panthers. He's followed them closely for a long time. Right. So I know like he's a good fan. Like he's not just throwing takes around. But he said this. Bill Voth has been suggesting that the Panthers aren't as high on Lance/Fields as other. Think once it was obvious Wilson was going number 2, they were good at staying at number 8.
Did you hear that's what the Eagles did? Like they actually apparently the Jets or Miami called the Eagles about that pick. Like they basically were trying to give them an opportunity to counter, and the Eagles, they were only interested in Wilson. If they weren't getting Wilson, they were fine with moving on, and then that's why they traded back.
The one thing I don't buy about this is that if Lance and Fields were there at 8, they would fucking take them like a motherfucker, right? Is that so? I guess why didn't we trade up? I do think Bill Voth is always going to try to give you this like don't panic mentality. That's kind of his thing. Like I know what people are thinking, this and that. Is the fact is that we were either too scared to make the offer, we're too late to the party. I think we might have just been too late to the party. When in the world have you guys ever heard of such big, giant draft moves coming a whole month before the draft?
When the Eagles and the Rams did it for Wentz and
was
Jared
it that
Goff.
Early? Was it that far in advance?
It was a while. It was around the time of the combine. Yeah, so it was around.
Okay.
It might have even been. It might have been.
Good answer. Out. That's a good fucking answer.
Yeah. How about that? Listen, if this is true, that does not speak well of our scouting department. I'll be very real with you. I don't know what you could like with Trey Lance. I don't know. Maybe if you want to say, oh, he didn't have to. They didn't make him throw the ball a ton over at North Dakota State. All these things are dumb, man. Like I don't know if they really don't like Fields or Lance. then they deserve the mediocre hell that they are looking to be stuck in for the next few years. And Tony, you've been saying that Deshaun Watson always has been, always will be a pipe dream, and that was before all the massage table crap. So It's like, dude, we really have to think about what we're going to do going forward. Moving forward now, okay, we're going to go and run it back with Teddy Bridgewater, but we're also going to add a bunch of players on offense or defense. Like, we might be picking 15th next year. And like, that's not going to be.
No, I don't think so at all. No, I don't think. I bet you this is we won't be any better this year. If we're out there trotting Teddy Bridgewater, we can only be so much better. So no, we might be picking 15th, but we could also still be bad.
But we're not going to be high enough to get the guy. And by the way, next year's stock of quarterbacks pale in comparison to the guys that are out in this year's draft class. Like, we knew who Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields were at this time last year. Those were two names that everybody was talking about. That name does not exist in the 2022 class. I don't give a damn about Sam Howell at UNC or Spencer Rattler. These are undersized quarterbacks with average to decent arms, but not spectacular. Like, man, it's so disappointing. This was the year that the Panthers should have had their down year in order to get the quarterback. But it's like, it's not going to happen. And honestly, like, so many people have this mindset of, oh, we'll just take one next year. We'll build up the football team, and we'll just get our quarterback next year. Well, you better hope, because let me tell you, it's not as simple as a lot of you want to make it out to be. That, oh, you'll just, we'll draft one next year if we miss out this year. There is no guarantee that you're going to find a true franchise quarterback. I mean, these prospects that have all the talent in all the different areas only really come around every so often. And if next year you're looking at the potential of, I mean, you say we're going to be bad. I don't see it. I think the Panthers are going to be better next year. I think we're going to be
better. How? Better? How? We're going to have a good defense.
What if we let's say we draft Micah Parsons and then draft.
That's who I want. That's who I want.
Let's say we draft Micah Parsons and then one of the best corners in the draft, Caleb Farley. He had like a ruptured disc. So now, I mean, he could have been the first cornerback taken. Now they're saying he might slip down to the second round. So what if the Panthers take a bunch of defensive players, load up some more on offense, and we become a damn good roster?
Then we trade next year. Then we trade up next
year. For who?
Or we go after Watson, who will have served his 1-year suspension. And that's the real question. Is where is this going to shake out? And let's turn to the calls real quick. I know that Josh has called in, and I saw Nick from Mass called in. So let's see what they got to say about this.
I don't hear it.
Oh.
Having a pretty good Friday. Oh, guys. Man. I was having a pretty good Friday. And then about 20 minutes ago, find out that the Niners have moved up to get the number 3 spot in the draft. We ain't getting a quarterback this year, kids. No, we're going to be stuck with fucking toilet water for another year. Bet on it.
Yep.
And watch, his dumbass will play marginally better than he did last year. And then all the idiots will be like, ooh, I told you we could do it. Even though, we'll win one more game. That's all that'll amount to. And man, how about winning against the Washington football team for the culture? Man, how's that? Man, you know what? Getting a new quarterback, getting a top-shelf quarterback in the draft, I mean, that'd be nice. But you know what's real great? Basking in the glory of all this fucking culture. Oh, my God.
I'm
you know
telling
what?
you,
I could go
Josh.
another 25 years without a
Tell
Super
him.
Bowl, just because of the culture. I mean, it's so great. It's the best thing ever. It's the best. Not at all. It was a fucking massive mistake to win that game.
Yes.
Big,
Massive.
fat fucking mistake. What the fuck? Jesus, tap dancing Christ. We're hosed. There goes most of the off season at this point. My opinion. Go, well, you're being dramatic. No, I'm being realistic. Here's to another 5-6 win season. Woo! Woo!
Nah, according to Cody, it's gonna be like a 10
Although who
win
knows?
season.
We might have a defense that can bail out Teddy's sorry ass.
That Josh is 100% right.
Maybe
That's exactly the number of wins we're good for.
He just, he won't have to throw the long ball if he, only ever has a 30, 40-yard field to deal with. I can't believe this shit. I cannot believe this shit.
I'm going to ask a question after this.
And then, of course, the Bucs managed to keep every single fucking starter on that team, basically.
That's crazy, bro.
It's going to be in the big
again,
culture. I'm sure Atlanta's going to grab a QB, too. So, here's to another year in the fucking basement of the NFC South. Joshua Mass signing off.
Tony, that's a good look. Oh, see, you said you had a question. Let's get to your question.
No, yeah, I was just gonna number one, first and foremost. By the way, culture at the Bucs. By the way, that's why people are still coming back, because culture. Anyway,
because Tom Brady went there. It has
exactly,
nothing to do with that culture.
But again, let me ask you before we jump into this, and I'm not trying to retread this, but I was thinking about it in the middle of that. What would right now? We've already know we can blame Hurney for not trading away Curtis Samuel. We can do all that. Hurney's gone. His punishment has already taken place, and we're we can look at that. What should have Rule done in that game? In your mind, what should he have done to not win that game?
Nothing. And that's where you're not getting the crux of my argument. That tanking, when done well, it has nothing to do with your coaches, and it has nothing to do with your players. They are going out there to win football games. But if I'm the general manager and I know that I can get, one, value for a player on the team, and number two, if I'm taking away a good player from our football team, then it makes it harder for us to win the football game. So
didn't they do that though? Don't you think they did that?
You're putting more on your players.
I think they went the other way.
Hold on, no, don't you think they did that? Who's our best player on this team?
Brian Burns,
Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, the guy that we paid that was.
Hold on. I'm trying to make a point. Who said that he felt like he was healthy to go weeks before the end of the year? You don't think that them setting him out was intentional?
Too little, too late. Maybe is that an argument against that?
That was before.
Once we saw the Panthers. Here's the thing: is that the Panthers. A lot of people want to believe that David Tepper is a genius, right? A lot of people want to believe this because we're so enamored by wealth in this world. And he is a guy who has accumulated such massive amounts of wealth. And we've been told, because he's such a shrewd businessman. And I got to say, as he's bought the Carolina Panthers, and he told us that there was a lot of things he wanted to change on the operation side first. Remember year one. And so it was about changing the business side of the Carolina Panthers. I think he's flourished in many ways in that, right? It's like investing in the team, making some big advertising deals, is that there has been some very deliberate steps to advance the team on the business side front. And you see the acquisition of soccer team, potentially diversifying the use of the football stadium. You see the concerts were coming in, so there was some evidence there that said, oh man, he's this brilliant fucking dude. But and maybe Greg was onto it a little bit earlier than other people. the way that the hiring of the coach and the GM stuff has happened since the firing of Ron Rivera, and now the third, right? We give people the benefit of the doubt, right? Is that you say, oh, well, they went and got their guy, and you're like, well, why did Marty Herney help him with that? And they paid Matt Rule, and they lured him away. And then we said, oh, wouldn't it be nice if you brought the GM and the coach together? And like, no, all right, maybe we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They're going to do this long, exhaustive search, and they're going to get their guy in Scott Fitterer, right? But the third component to this is actually that's the third component. The second component is that Marty Herney and Matt Rule set out like they were going to win the damn Super Bowl by getting Teddy Bridgewater. They should have worked through the roster in year one and then developed a plan together. Instead, the plan was let's piece together the best possible thing we can in the wake of Cam Newton, and we're going to win 4 games and be competitive in the others. It's just been a mess. I would say this is that ever since we fired Ron Rivera, which Cody Lashley told us was, and I'm with you, bro, you were on it, right? It's like, it's just time. But they have fucked up moment after moment after moment after moment on this. And it might not be like great, like they fell off the bicycle, but they've been wobbling through this process.
Yeah.
And
I've lost a lot of confidence.
It really comes back to the way, and we said this, and if Kyle Kenny, whatever, wants to come and fight me at my house, that he thinks that he's like going to make fun of me because because I'm a successful person. I got a family, I got a hunt, like whatever. So fuck you. But if you want to come fight about this, we were saying this is that if you're going to bring this thing in, when you're redoing something, you do it in a very targeted and thoughtful way. And instead, we're just throwing shit against the wall until we find what sticks.
Yeah, I agree.
And that, I think, is where the frustration comes in. This was our moment to get back in step.
So my question here now, it all kind of pertains to all of this. Let's say everything happens the way we expect it to. The Jets take Wilson. You have the let's even say Miami takes somebody there, but let's say all 4 quarterbacks that we find to be franchise quality quarterbacks are gone, right? And they're I keep on saying Miami because I knew they were third. They're the 49ers, the Jets, the Jaguars, and what we would presume the Falcons. Who has a worse quarterback situation than the Panthers going into the new year if we don't trade for, say, another quarterback?
Who has a worse?
Out of what teams? Out of
any team in the NFL, who has the worst quarterback situation than the Panthers?
Chicago.
Mm-mm.
Chicago,
they have Dalton.
Number 1.
I would put Dalton ahead of Teddy Bridgewater every day of the week.
That is a big fucking insult.
No,
for all Dalton the Teddy Bridgewater defenders out there.
Bro, I'm not saying he's a good one. I'm not saying he's good.
No, I'm with you. I mean, all right. I'm not going to fight you on it. I'm not going to fight you on that. But it does make me laugh that people are trying to say we could win with Teddy Bridgewater, and someone can literally say Andy Dalton is better, and we can't really fight that much over it.
Yeah.
All right. So look, I got a question. What are Panther fans supposed to get excited about next year? Like, I've already seen people online on Twitter and in our chat room that are like, but dude, what the fuck are we going to do? Like, okay, if we're going to roll out Teddy Bridgewater next year, like, what game are you guys dying to see and dying to go to? Like, it's,
New England, baby. New England.
Yes, and we can go and cheer for fucking Cam Newton? Yeah, bro, that's right. And I would.
I mean, what we would do is that first, I think, and one thing we have not talked about in this show, we did talk about on Tuesday, Deshaun Watson, but the Deshaun Watson crap really fucked the Panthers, right? Because even if we weren't on, like, having Deshaun Watson being a trade player out there for the 49ers to target, for the Jets to target, open some doors for the Carolina Panthers to right now that are completely closed specifically after this trade, right? So the Deshaun Watson hype and then this crazy circumstances surrounding the story have actually indirectly affected the Carolina Panthers and inflated the cost of what we were hoping to acquire, right? That's number one. Number two, I guess, Cody, is that, and I think another way of asking this question is what now for the Carolina Panthers in the draft? Because I tell you this, if it's Mac Jones, I'm losing my mind. If the Panthers, and you know what? It would not surprise me one bit given the stumbling, the wobbling on the bicycle over the last couple of years that the Carolina Panthers have, that they feel like, oh, well, now is we got to do it. Everybody else is doing it, so we got to do it. I think this is that unless there's any opportunity for us to navigate maybe with Detroit or who knows, like I don't even think there's a chance. But if some strange reason a quarterback other than Mac Jones falls to us, then we're going to take him A. But if we're at 8 and it's Mac Jones, I'm saying take Micah. What is it, Minka or Micah? I'm trying to say Micah. Parsons. Like, let's take Parsons. And you know what? And this is the worst thing you ever want to hear, Cody. But I think it's probably where we're going to have to go now. And that is we have some young studs on defense, homie. And maybe it's time to assemble the fucking defense. And then it's not this year, but next year, maybe in free agency when we get some money, the cap booms up again. Right. We're supposed to have a ton of money in 2022 or 2023. Maybe it's all setup time now. And that's not the answer we want to hear, but I sure don't want to hear Mac Jones number 8 on this year. And if we do, you know what? It's going to make for some amazing ass content on the C3 Panthers podcast. Imagine if Mac Jones is the number 8 pick selection by the Carolina Panthers, and we go 3 and whatever next year, and he looks like a turd in a dad bod out there. It will be the Hate Mac Jones post game show, and more than it was the Hate Teddy Bridgewater post game show.
I mean, not for me.
It will be for me.
Listen, I would not be happy if we draft Matt Jones at 8. I mean, listen, I agree with of course I want to mess it. AJ Lindsey, 12-16. If all the quarterbacks are gone, you trade down and acquire assets. Like at that
which
point,
is the Seattle Seahawks style, right? Which is where Fitter comes
from. But in my mind, at that point in time, take a run on Kellen Mond from Texas A&M, who has better maneuverability and better arm talent than Matt Jones. Like, I would prefer that than I don't know. Listen, I wouldn't. There's no guarantee going into the future that we're ever going to be able to be in a position to draft a quarterback if we do what you're saying, though. So, for example, if we load up on the defense, dude, good luck being a top 10 team, which is where you need to be, you know? So, like, Clemson right now has DJ Uiagalelei, who is looking like he's probably going to be another Trevor Lawrence-type prospect, he's basically like a big Samoan Cam Newton. He's 6'4", can throw the ball 85-plus yards. Maybe try and undergo a 2-year tank. But the Panther fans are so done talking about tanking, we can't even decide if it actually exists or not. So it's like, man, I don't know. Matt Jones at 8 would be far too rich, but at least he hasn't had the chance to fuck up 3 different football teams like Bridgewater has.
No. I'm going to tell you this: is Mac Jones in the second round, and then you can talk to me. Third round, y'all people telling there's a reach for Trey Lance. Screw that, man. There's nothing that it jumps off the page to me about Mac Jones other than he played at Alabama and they won a lot of football games. But how many other damn quarterbacks have played at Alabama and won a lot of football games too? All right, the number's 252-228-5098. And look, here is Nick from Massachusetts.
Yo, guys, it's Nick from up here in Mass. First off, ice up pick, okay? Tony, it's going out to you, man, okay? Last week, called twice. Only one of the phone calls got played. Week before that, same deal. Called twice. Only one of the phone calls got played. And the phone call that didn't get played was the one that was like a huge shout out to you guys for everything that you guys have done over the last year during the pandemic. So, ice up, fool. Okay. Because last week I was actually icing up whatever calling service you guys use, because obviously it doesn't load all the
that's
calls.
The problem. It's
okay.
me,
you guys play about
problem.
50% of the calls that, I have. At least as of late. Anyways. So today news came out that Miami is now picking at number 6, and the 49ers are picking at number 3. I think it's safe to say that we aren't getting a quarterback this year. And on top of that, I don't think we should get a quarterback. With how much it cost San Fran to move all the way up to number 3, it's just not worth it.
It's going to be way
really
expensive.
Not worth it. I mean,
do Panther fans really
don't get me
think
wrong.
that was
I hate Teddy Bridgewater probably more than anybody else on this podcast. I will talk as much trash about that man as humanly possible. The dude drives a minivan so that way people won't quote unquote notice him or recognize him. Guess what? You made yourself look like a goddamn pedophile in that thing. And everybody now recognizes you because everybody knows to look for a black Dodge Journey. Teddy, get out of Carolina, man. We don't want you here. Nobody wants you here. Nobody even really wants you in the NFL now, I think about it. So just why don't you just leave? Okay? I don't want Teddy to be our quarterback. I'd rather have PJ or, as much as I can't believe I'm even saying this, Will Greer. But then again, the only time that we saw Will Greer play was against San Fran in the year that they went to the Super Bowl. And that defense was no joke. So, at this point,
it would have been great to see him play last year if Cam would have been hurt.
I don't think we should go after Garoppolo whenever he becomes a free agent, if that's even this year. But even still, I don't think we should go after him. I'd rather run with PJ and Will Greer, and see what we have in both of those guys to know whether or not to keep either one of them around for next year. And then just let's make other moves. Let's beef up the offensive line. Let's beef up the defensive line just a little bit more. Let's make moves in that aspect. As much as I want to get a quarterback, it's not worth the amount of money that we are about to spend. Love the show, guys.
All right, Nick, we appreciate it. Sorry for my inconsistency. After 3 hours of podcasting and calls, sometimes the numbers blur together. And sometimes, I don't know, just make a mistake like the Panthers have made mistakes in this last couple of years. Signing Teddy Bridgewater was one of those mistakes, I think, and you know what, Kenny, whatever you are, go check that tape too. We said you that at the beginning of that, is that like here is it doesn't make sense to align yourself for just okayness when you have an opportunity to either see what Cam's got left or to position yourself to see what you got in Will Greer on be number 1 or 2 in this draft. Right. So I think the Panthers have done what they do best, and that is do the right thing, but just 2 moves too late. Right. Is that like, look, the Panthers have been just late to the call on all of these decisions, and even the parting with Rivera, the firing of Marty Hurney, just delay. And we can go back to even when Dave Gettleman was the GM about how the decisions weren't wrong. They were just late to the party. Right. And one other thing I was thinking about is that the San Francisco 49ers are the ones who aggressively moved up here. Now, they were a team that has a lot of promise and potential, and their coach, man, is just impressive. But it wasn't just a week or 2 ago that they were supposedly inquiring to the Carolina Panthers about Teddy Bridgewater.
Mm-hmm.
The fishing expedition had begun.
They played us.
Yeah, well, they're playing everybody. You know what? They realized this is that, we don't need to wait the draft night. We know we got to do this.
All these other teams have been playing chess, and the Panthers have been playing checkers. So, and by the way, can I ask a question real quick? Amongst either of you and anyone listening in the chat, who would be upset if the Panthers gave away the 8th pick, their 73rd pick, and two future first rounders for number 3 in this year's draft, like how many people are saying that wouldn't be worth it? Because I feel like I'm still like
if it was a guarantee for Zach Wilson, sure. But you're asking for the 3rd quarterback in the draft.
I'm fine. I'm fine with Trey Lance.
So you wouldn't give that up for the opportunity to get either Justin Fields or Trey Lance. You're guaranteed a shot at one of them.
No, because you don't know what those guys are. Like, you don't know.
We don't know what Zach Wilson is either.
But we think
we think
we
know what Mahomes was going to be.
Yeah, we
exactly,
think we
but
have
they didn't
some
trade 3 first-round picks for it. Like, they didn't trade. They didn't give away. They moved up, but they didn't move up with that much. Like, same thing with Winston. I mean, they got a hit, but
this goes back to our value perspective, is that if that is the case and that's too rich for your blood, CK, we could have been the ones getting the 3 first-round picks.
Yeah.
Is it time to start thinking about this? Look, I know it's time to start thinking about this, is that the Panthers, the idea that they're going to get a top flight quarterback in this draft seems to be just dissipating more and more by the moment. And so you can't risk it for the biscuit on a guy who's second rate at 8. I think that's when you guys start thinking about drafting an offensive lineman, drafting Michael Parsons, Patrick Surtain, or trading back. But as we discuss all of those opportunities and trading back, don't you think that Sam Darnold now has to be more and more of a serious interest for any team in the Carolina Panthers? Because if the New York Jets are not coming off with number 2 and they pick a quarterback, they're going to have to part. I mean, they don't have to part ways with Sam Darnold, but they should.
Well,
and they likely will.
Too. You know, he's more
but not after draft. After now he is, but on draft night he's not. So if they pick a quarterback at number 2, then all of a sudden, if no one trades for Sam Darnold before the draft, and then they pick a quarterback at number 2, Sam Darnold's value goes down.
So
because we know that, and that's what I'm thinking is if I'm the Panthers at this point, that what we're sitting here doing is like, crap, we're out of the quarterback running. What do we do? What do we do? Do we run it back with Teddy? Do we run it back with Teddy and Will Grier and effectively either just go 6-game wins or tank if Will Grier comes in or something happens as bad? Or do we try to find, something that has an upside that doesn't cost as much? And on draft night, all of a sudden you're sitting there, they pick Zach Wilson. The Carolina Panthers trade back at number 8. And then one of the picks that they acquire in trading back, they offer for Sam Darnold.
I mean, the only problem with that is that, if Sam Darnold is on our list of potential prospects that we like and are interested in bringing in, if there's a market for him and there are other teams like the Bears that would be interested in, like, how long do you wait on that? Because for all intents and purposes, it looks like if Carolina was willing to trade up into the top 3, then they missed their chance to do it. Like,
it's over.
Yeah,
no, it's not. It's gone.
So, okay, are you going to risk if they actually like Sam Darnold and think that he could fit our system and that they could undergo that process of building him back up again, then do you even wait?
I will risk it because there's a risk in bringing him in. So, like, it's not imperative to go and get him no matter what, because there's so many unknowns about whether or not it will actually work. But then as draft night unfolds, different things happen, and you start to go, hey, now maybe I'll kick the tires. Kicking the tires on Sam Darnold rather than investing in Sam Darnold are two different things.
Yeah.
What do you think, CK?
I mean, at this point, if it's not much, I would. I mean, it's so difficult because, like, when you know that these guys are going to be off the board, like when they get to you, like it takes the wins out of you. I mean, like I like the idea of there is a guy who was considered a top draft prospect And I would be interested to see what he looked like on tape with his pro day in comparison to some of these guys that, coming out of the draft now, and see what it looks like. Because I didn't because we weren't in the market for a quarterback when Sam Darnold came out. So I had no interest in seeing what he looked like prior to his draft. All I know is he's played for a really crappy organization and he's not been a great quarterback. So I don't hate the idea of trading for Darnold. I don't know if I want to give anything more than like a third or a fourth round.
Yeah. I mean, but that's what I'm kind of saying is if you traded back and you had an extra second and it's not really
if it was a late round second, then I would be all right with it. But
even if it was just something you acquired in the trade back,
that's
still kind of free. It's house money at that point.
I mean,
maybe I'm starting to think about that. But I mean, it's either that, or it's running it back with Teddy, or taking a flyer, trying to find the next Will Grip or whatever. I don't know what you're trying to find in the second or third round, but maybe just settling for a second tier quarterback that might work in the future. All right, let's go to, I'm pretty sure, I think this is Chuck in Elizabeth City. Let's see if this might be our last call.
Hey guys, it's Chuck from Elizabeth City. I didn't know you'd be on tonight. My day started going bad when I was getting my massage, and I'm getting ready to watch the Zach Wilson pro day, and the news flashes across the screen about how Miami has traded the number 3 pick to the 49ers and bypassed us. And I had to go ahead and cut out the old rub and tuck. But anyway, guys, it's a little discouraging. But I just
Watson. This is all Watson's fault.
I'd give up 3 first-round picks for Zach Wilson. If the Jets would do it, I don't think they will. It looked pretty damn special today.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, maybe the Jets aren't. If they do, they're dumb. They need that guy more than anybody, just as much as we do. So,
yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts about this as we kind of wrap things up?
I mean, I think that again, it's just it's really hard to be optimistic, but as bad off seasons go, I mean, we've had it wasn't a horrible off season up until this news where we thought maybe Trey Lance was going to be available for us at our drafting position, but what are we 8, 7? And now we're kind of under I think we're all convinced we're not getting him. We've gone into off seasons feeling crappy, and they haven't, always been crappy. But hey, listen, maybe this is
what about trading to 5? What about trading to 5 with the Bengals? If at the call, the bell calls, and Atlanta doesn't trade their pick to Denver, and they don't take a quarterback, we should be on the phone to Cincinnati.
You know who?
What we Cincinnati, they can get their left tackle or their whatever they want at 8. It'll still be there. And if that doesn't happen, I say it's all trade back time. Maybe with the idea of doing this, trading back out of 8 and just picking 2 damn top fleet offensive linemen.
If like this draft is going to be so intriguing and so much soul crushing, like that's going to be going on while we're on the actual podcast, because we're going to be watching. We know Jags are going to be taking Lawrence, right? We know that's going to be happening, so that part's not going to be a surprise. But what if the Jets don't take a quarterback?
I know. What if they take Trey Lance?
There is no way. There is no way. Zach Wilson is going number 2 to the Jets. Now, the only thing that might change that is if Justin Fields, during his pro day, just blows everyone away. And by the way, I wrote this in my newest.
So there's no way that Trey Lance did that already? There's no way Trey Lance played up into the number 2 spot.
I don't see Trey Lance in the top. I don't know. I mean, maybe the 49ers could take Trey Lance at 3.
I think he would be great there. That's the guy I think would fit them better than anybody.
But my thing is this. They see how good Zach Wilson is. They have a brand new head coach. Zach Wilson will be cheaper than Sam Darnold. They have 5 years of Zach Wilson as opposed to another 2 of Sam. There's no reason for them to trade back, man.
I mean, the other part is, there is a reason that they can ask for way more than what the Dolphins got for trading. Number one, and to that exact point, they're going to be able to have, let's say 3-4 first round picks. They're going to have the ability to be able to they're going to have the ability to not pay people and be all right. Like if they want to try to move on from somebody that, that's no big deal. We've got the draft picks to justify it. If we found holes that we needed in an organization this year, we can fix it next year. If we wanted to try to really, make a push for a trade for a quarterback, we have 6 first rounders over the next 3 years to make that push. I mean, if Darnold isn't the answer, if we give him a team this year that is one that can compete and he still does nothing, then I think we move on, and I think like the thing is a lot of people, yes, don't see Darnold playing his best football, but I think a lot of people still believe in his ability to actually turn it back on.
So what's the likelihood of that to happen though?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
That's why Tannehill, it happened with, you could say, I guess Tannehill is kind of the most recent examples of something like that.
But even Tannehill,
and maybe the only, he's got what, more upside?
No, I would say I would say that Ryan Tannehill, what he did with the Dolphins was more impressive than what Sam Darnold has managed to do with the Jets.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. The only thing is
I would say this. I can't tell you exactly how it went, but kind of feels like it was a Drew Brees type of thing, right? Wasn't Drew Brees not really good his first 5 years?
No, he was pretty good for this. No, he went 11-5, I think, 1 year, and then he got a shoulder. It was his shoulder.
The shoulder is what caused them to trade him, right?
The concern I do have with Sam Darnold is that there was a time, and he was around that time where quarterbacks in 2 consecutive years, people had like traded a lot, moved up for quarterbacks, and it felt like the scouts were telling us this guy is going to be good, even though there was nothing that really wowed us about them. I would argue that there has been things that wowed us about Zach Wilson, things that wow us about that we've seen on tape and on film and in life and this and that about Trey Lance.
But how much is that as recent bias?
I don't know if Sam Darnold, it felt like he was just even I think Baker Mayfield is kind of like this. Is that this? I don't know if they're this kind of all right. They're not as, I don't know. The Josh Rosen draft, all of this, that like it just felt like so many teams felt like they had to take the guy then.
I don't know.
This year there feels like a gluttony of riches at quarterback.
You don't remember like Baker Mayfield was like he won the Heisman, right? I mean, it was
he did, but he also played under who's my man? He was Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley coached 3 people consecutively to Heisman's. Even Jalen Hurts, who wasn't even on the team.
Running. He was in there. Jalen Hurts was in the running, but even then, Baker Mayfield didn't compare to any of these guys outside of stats. He didn't have the size, didn't have the arm talent. A lot of those guys were good in certain areas, but didn't tick all the boxes. Okay, my thing is this. Let's say me and you are the GM and scout at the Jets, okay? And we're looking at everything that Sam Darnold has done versus everything that we have seen Zach Wilson do as a prospect. Yeah. Like, if you had to take yourself and you had to make that decision and you're for the Jets, who are you picking? Zach Wilson or Sam Darnold?
I mean, it depends upon what's on the other side of the phone. I mean,
it has to be Zach Wilson. It has to be Zach Wilson. It has to be.
Hold on.
Even if it was the dysfunction of the Jets that led to Sam Darnold's being ruined, his rebirth can't happen there.
But you've got to keep in mind, that's a very 2-dimensional way of looking. You're looking at just one part of that equation. You're not also looking at the fact that, number one, we can talk about the history on it. But let's take that. You don't know who's on the other end of the phone offering what, right? If you're offered 5 firsts for that number 2 spot, right? Are you going to take that? I mean, I kind of would take that.
So how many?
Like if you get offered 5 years of first, let's say Miami decided they wanted to move up because they really liked Wilson. And that was the way they were going to do it, is move back and then have enough picks to justify it by saying.
What's the least amount of first-round picks you would trade out of it for?
If I'm going to if I'm in the second?
If you're the Jets, you're number 2. You can select Zach Wilson.
I would probably.
And the team calls you. What deal gets you to move off of 2?
I mean, you may have to throw in players on top of it, but I would say at a minimum,
you can only trade 3 years in ahead. So there's like you can't.
But
I guess maybe you could do.
Yeah, if you're Miami, I would say throw in that. I mean, that may be another part of this plan, right? Throw in 5 firsts, 4 firsts, somewhere in that ballpark. Let's say 3 firsts and maybe 2 seconds and a player.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still like this, man. Is that unless it like. I don't. Maybe if you are the Jets, that there's a number that you just can't turn down. But in some ways, I just like kind of like the Bengals last year. Remember, like people are talking about you can maybe trade with the Bengals. Like, what really is like? Nah, we just want our dude. If that's the case, CK, if you're willing to trade that much to go to Zach Wilson, I think we should just start talking to Jacksonville then.
No, what I'm saying is,
if there's a number that's too high to refuse, then maybe we should stop wasting that with the Jets and just start talking with Jacksonville.
But you got to keep in mind the difference here is, in my opinion, is the fact that they have a quarterback that is still
they don't. Neither,
very young.
Yeah, but it sucks.
But you haven't really given him an opportunity to succeed.
He missed like 8 games because he had mono, dude. He got mono.
But also, it's not completely not on him. Yes, he was in a bad situation.
Correct.
Yes,
you're 100% right.
Yeah, like there were also just times when he showed real ineptitudes being able to read coverage, knowing where blitzes would come from,
and just throwing picks like crazy. He's a pick machine.
Getting spooked, you know. So it again, like you're banking that maybe Sam Darnold becomes this, you know, blossoming player that finds new life once another quarterback or once another coach is, you know, coaching him. But again, man, people don't really understand. Like Zach Wilson, dude, especially after seeing what he did this year, but then like watching that pro day, and watching him.
He's got that baseball player look, dude.
Yeah,
he's like Russell. He's like Russell Wilson, but taller.
I mean, dude, he really does have that Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes kind of thing to
Russell
him.
Wilson, man. More Russell Wilson, baseball player.
I mean, yeah, dude, but he's bigger than Russell. That's why I say he's more.
Yeah.
He's more like Aaron Rodgers and Patrick.
I say more mobile than Aaron Rodgers. All right, let's squeeze these last 2 calls in.
Hey, yo, man. Fuck Zach Wilson, dude. Fuck all these quarterbacks in this draft unless they fall to us, man. We don't need to be given no arm and a limb for another team to just hustle off they draft pick to just move back to get a fucking wide receiver, like what they're trying to get in the whole first place. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, Watson's still on the table, and that's pretty much damn near what we going to have to pay to move up that high, dude. I'm telling you, just get your O-line, beat that shit up. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool even with our secondary with the whole pressure that we about to be giving, man. We ain't gonna be having no more than 4 seconds in the motherfucking secondary. So you got to picture it like that. You know what I'm saying? An okay cornerback should be able to be, you know, just cover the fucking slant. It's simple as that. You know, no, I'm sorry. Just beef up that O-line. Give Teddy way more than enough room to even be uncomfortable. And that's a W, right? In year 2 of the system, it's supposed to be Brady Guy, right? You know what I mean? If year 2 of his shit, and if it ain't Brady and fucking Teddy gotta go. You know what I mean? QT0 over and out, man. If you need to check out some good music, by the way, check out fucking Zero. I got a lot of those. My baby mama doing donuts to the ATV, topless. And then we got Pounds by Zero, all this Cali shit. You can see how we really do it. And then new music coming out soon too, called Moment. Be on the lookout for that. Subscribe to this shit, all the whole 9. Fucks with y'all, C3.
All right, QT.
Shout out QT, man. They got the topless pics. I like the hustle, man.
All right, next call.
How are we going to protect them? We're going to end up in the same situation.
Hold on, I don't think I played it from the beginning.
Hey, yo, man. Fuck Zach Wilson, dude.
We heard that one.
Hey, maybe I'm missing something. I understand we want one of the top 4 quarterbacks, but without an offensive line, how are we going to protect them? We're going to end up in the same situation. We won't have another Cam. That's not going to happen again. So what are they going to do? Like in 1 year, 2 years, when he's just whoever it is.
Yeah, you start picking offensive linemen. That's what you start doing.
As much as I hate to say it, we either stick with Bridgewater or start PJ Walker and draft offensive line and try to get our quarterback of the future safe. Anyways, that's just my opinion. Y'all have a good one.
I like Cody's saying here where he says we can walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. And it really resonates with me because even if we pick the best tackle in the draft, we're going to get the second pick because the Bengals, unless they move, right, are going to pick an offensive lineman. You add that one player to that offensive line, yes, you're going to get better down the road, but adding him alone is not just going to make the offensive line magically good. It will help, but like you might get Teddy killed still. And I think I do think that moving, is that if no one wants to trade back with you and this and that, I think maybe we need to be talking offensive linemen. Maybe it's not Micah Parsons just because I saw that 4.39. I'm in love with it. I'm okay with picking an offensive lineman at 8. I don't think that it's an either or situation. One, we can pick offensive linemen in other places and acquire offensive linemen and add and invest in that line in various ways. Number two, it's kind of a unique draft, like Cody has said, in being this like mega quarterback draft. And that's the part about it is like we're missing out on a quarterback. And if these offensive linemen are so fucking awesome, why aren't they going 1, 2, 3, and 4 then?
Yeah, because they're not as important. They're not as important as the quarterback when you need a quarterback, and that's what makes this all so much bittersweet, man. Like the fact that we're talking about Teddy Bridgewater or Will Grier or PJ Walker, the same thing that we were saying at the start of last year, and the fact that knowing that we're missing out when we're so close. There were 4 of them. We could have had our shot at 4 of them. Forget Trevor Lawrence. Hey, forget Justin Fields. Zach Wilson came out of nowhere. Trey Lance came out of nowhere. And we're probably not going to have a shot to draft either of them. Dude, let me tell you what. Y'all better hope that someone down in Houston is trying to pull off the biggest fucking made-you-look story on Deshaun Watson. I mean, really,
it's not happening. It's not happening
of all time because Deshaun Watson. I mean, that's really
he ruined all of this. He massaged this terribly, and it's really ruined it for all of us. And if we do want to continue with that kind of talk about why don't we just pick an offensive lineman? Like, hey, look, I will be far happier if we pick an offensive lineman than if we pick Mac Jones. I promise you that. Like, I'm cool with that. But where was that talk when we picked Christian McCaffrey at 8? Where was that? Is that there's a certain time and place for things, and we missed that time and place on offensive linemen when we had a quarterback. Right. So now we're going to try to build an offensive line for a quarterback we don't have. Isn't there some irony in that?
Let me ask you. Talking about Matt Jones going number 3 to the 49ers. Like, it's like a legitimate discussion.
It's being had right now. It's trolling.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting, but let me ask you guys a question. What if, so we know that the 49ers called us about Teddy, about the idea of trading, right? And now that obviously doesn't sound like a great move, right? At the end of the day. So what the 49ers did is they traded away 3 first-round draft picks, the 12th, and then 2 future first rounds, moved up to number 3. What if they literally turned around and said, we'll take your 3 first-round draft picks from you guys, Teddy Bridgewater and Christian McCaffrey or whomever they want, and then basically they literally get a better draft pick than they were at. They get more draft capital in return, and it was a value that they basically got out of it. We
won't do it. We won't do it because there's too much egg in their face, and you got to wonder if a little bit if the reason that we didn't aggressively get on the Miami pick, Cody, earlier is like you said, we should have been doing this. You got to wonder if there was a little egg on the face because that should have been our fucking pick anyway.
Yeah.
Isn't that if you move up to number 3 and then you go back and you're like, well, we really thought that this was necessary. You could have had, there's got to be a little bit of well, what about that other talk we had?
I don't think anybody in the organization would ever apologize for having made that win, right? I don't think Matt Rule is going to apologize for making a win, getting a win there in Washington. I don't think that he should have to, in Cody's argument.
I think you're right about that. I agree with you on that.
I don't think that Tepper has to. I think that right now they have
maybe
their fall
Marty
guy.
Herney.
Yeah, they have their fall guy in Herney. They're going to let him take the blame for it. They're okay with feeling good about the fact that they made that win, but it's not their fault that they didn't get the 3rd pick because Herney decided to try to build a team and not trade away assets. Right? That's okay. That's in their mind. That's fine. I don't think egg on the face is a part of it. I think, honestly, if you're Miami, let's look at this from that logical standpoint. Do you really not call every other team that could possibly be interested in trading up and say, are you willing to beat it? I guarantee you they did. I guarantee you the opportunity came up for the Panthers to be able to make that exact trade, and they said, nah.
Man, that makes it even sting more.
Dude,
doesn't it? That makes it sting a little bit more because here is that if we would have been the team making this deal, would you have been excited today, CK, or not?
Yeah, I would have been excited just because we're actually getting a quarterback and not stuck in this purgatory.
Right. So that makes it even hurt more, Cody. Is that the idea that we're like, nah?
I mean,
we won't give you another 3rd. Something like what would it mean? Like what? Miami would. That's kind of even weirder, isn't it?
It's dumbfounding to me. It's absolutely. I don't know. We were so aggressive on wanting to upgrade the quarterback position, and then we let another team outmaneuver us. We lost today. And we lost by winning that Washington game. Me and CK are just going to have to agree to disagree. None of the players would have been long-term affected by losing that game to Washington. It just wouldn't have happened. We would have been.
We didn't lose it though. We didn't lose. It was the fucking quarterback, dude. It wasn't our fault. It was fucking Dwayne Haskins'
That's
fault.
my argument.
Dwayne Haskins was so bad that we couldn't even tank that fucking game.
We almost tried to lose that game.
It felt like it. Yeah, like it didn't. I mean, Dwayne Haskins was so bad that there was no way that Washington could have won the game. That's how it felt.
If we had all backups in,
they would have had to have just let the football hit him in the face, being like, I'm not intercepting this. Bam! He was god awful. Oh,
I mean, everyone
we're screwed. DK
played off of 2 except for Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel won that specific game for us.
Yeah, he did have a big play in that. But he was, what he was playing for? His money. That's what he was playing for.
And that team went and got him.
There's irony in that because they didn't know how to use them when they had them. So what they're going to do with them now? I do want to address this, and we'll get who said it is he said, why are we going to try to trade up now? God, I just saw it. There was a comment up here. It's like, why would we try to trade up now? And that's the point. Is I think we missed our opportunity. It was Dcash. He said, but why is trading up such a priority now? Actually, I don't even know if it is anymore. Once you get at, because Atlanta is there at 4, is that they're going to be a problem. Unless it just really, to me, is going to come down to what does Atlanta do? Are they going to have the guts to go ahead and take the quarterback while everybody's going quarterback hungry? Or are they going to do something like, oh, we believe in Matt Ryan, we're going to pick defense? If that's the case, I think we got to swoop in and get the damn Cincinnati Bengals pick and get a guy. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Yeah, or hope that the 49ers pick Matt Jones at number 3. That would be
Oh,
good.
God. Handies for Kyle Shanahan forever. All right. C3 Panthers podcast. My name's Tony Dunn at @cat_Chronicles. I encourage all of you to smash the thumbs up button, subscribe. Longest running Panthers podcast. I got a little frustrated tonight. I'm not going to lie. Got some trolls on my ass, and it got me. Ugh. But guess what? I love y'all anyway. I love y'all in the chat room, even if you drive me nuts sometimes. I love you callers, even if I screw up your calls. So you got to keep loving me, even though I might not deserve it all the time. You can follow us on Tuesday nights live at 9 p.m. And you got to check out my man Cody Lastney. Cody, what are you doing with Draft Tech? It's got to be a fucking mess over there right now.
Yeah, man. I've already gotten all the email chains about drafts and trades and. But yeah, check it out every Wednesday. There's going to be a brand new draft on drafttech.com with all comments for the Panthers written by yours truly. And check me out on Twitter at CodyLac, CodyLac.
Don't forget, we got a Discord channel that's hopping all the time right now. I got the link in the show notes on YouTube and actually in all the show notes. So you go join that Discord chat. It's like this right now, but just text, and we can do voice chat. Like people call me up, we just all of a sudden start talking and hanging out. It is a live Panther fan chat, breaking news all the time. We'd love to have you be part of that community. It's growing and growing, and I know CK is growing and growing as a streamer, bro. Telling you, I cannot say enough nice things about that video. But where can they find how can they help you in your mission or your quest for a greater purpose?
Honestly, you can go to the Facebook and just show some love to the video, and also on Twitter. It probably wouldn't hurt to go over there and show some love and blow that up, because I think that the more activity it has, the more they're going to recognize that people loved it and are supportive of in the community and support what I'm doing. So guys, just go check me out. I'm again Codizzle Allen on pretty much all platforms, and I don't know, yeah, just show some love.
Sub up, folks. Help us grow. Help us get through this. This is therapy for fans. And don't forget, Greg is about to go live. Super Civil Servants podcast. I'm gonna pop over and see what those guys are gonna be talking about. I bet you they're gonna be talking about the Suicide Squad. Like a mug, John Cena talking about eating vagina or shit or whatever he's talking about. I got to go watch that. I got a lot of things I'm ready to watch. I'm going to go check out the Super Civil Servants podcast. Until Tuesday, keep pounding.
Keep pounding.
Keep pounding.
Be a barbecue hero with delicious, ultra-low net carb Hero Bread, buns, and tortillas. Soft and fluffy, high in fiber, and with 0 grams of sugar, up to 10 grams of protein, coming in at under 100 calories per serving. Oh, and did I mention they taste like their mouth-watering traditional versions? I mean, what's not to love? Use code AH10 for 10% off your first Hero Bread purchase at hero.co. That's AH10 for 10% off at hero.co.